Coming up today, we're getting our cabbage in the ground, red and green, as well as showing how to prevent weeds from coming up under a permanent trellis. All that and more coming up today on the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener is sponsored in part by, for all your non-GMO, heirloom, organic, vegetable, flowers, and herb seeds, visit dollarseed.com. Sioux Growing Supply, located in Wausau, Wisconsin, focusing on certified leaf compost, an excellent amendment for poor soil, retains moisture and adds nutrients, which equals less watering. Available in Sioux organic seed starting kits, pre-filled trays and pots, bag and bulk. Visit SiouxCompost.com. Organic fertilizer for the health-conscious organic home gardener. Family owned and operated. Visit WGardens.com. Don't poison your soil with municipal water. Attach a body, mind, and soil hose and filter. Free shipping exclusively through the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com. Just click on the body, mind, and soil icon. Authentic Haven brand soil conditioner for the home gardener. Easy to brew, 100% organic. Visit ManureTea.com. Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. I'm Joy Barrett. Well, we're going to get some of our cabbage in the ground today. We've got red cabbage, we've got green cabbage. The red cabbage here is going to grow heads that are 2 to 3 pounds, tightly dense, and the plants are going to be much smaller in size than the green cabbage will. This is some of the green cabbage, along with there's some cauliflower mixed in with these. But we're going to take some of the best green cabbages, which will grow a larger head but need more ground space to grow. And we've got this bed here prepped. Well, we prepped it last year. We turned all these beds over and worked them, and that's kind of a key if you have the opportunity in the fall. Get everything ready for the next spring so you have a lot less prep time and more time to plant. This bed is about 36 inches wide. We came in, put 2 bags or about 6 cubic feet of certified leaf compost from SiouxCompost.com. Then I brought leaves over from the adjacent bed. That was a major compost pile that we had because that was a very poor nutrients bed last year. So I brought over about 4 inches of mulched leaves, and now it's time to plant. Now I also incorporated some coffee grounds in this bed underneath the compost, and I'll incorporate some all-purpose organic fertilizer as well in each hole, along with some more compost to really give these plants a good boost. With the red cabbage, they're going to get, both of these will take about 75 to 90 days to reach maturity. We are in a partial shade area here, and as the duration of the summer progresses, the sun will this bed will be more shaded in the afternoon, but it will get about 5 to 7 hours of sun in the morning, so we should be okay. So both cabbages are a cooler weather plant. You really don't want to plant these in the heat of the summer, so we're right in the right time frame to get them in the ground and then get something out of it mid to early portions of summer. So with the red cabbage, 18 inches, the plant will get 12 to 14 inches wide, and I should be able to get 2 plants per bed or row here. I'm going to do 2 rows, and then on the far end here, I'm going to probably, with some of the better green cabbage, I'm just going to do 1 down the center, and the plants will be much larger in diameter. So it's pretty easy to do this. I'm going to make 2 holes here, and then we want this to be as weed-free as possible, and that's what a lot of this leaf is for. These leaves are for. Just going to put some of this compost in the hole, and then the adequate amount of fertilizer. And you want to work that in just slightly because you really don't want the roots to be touching if you can prevent that. All right, so now it's time to get the red cabbage is much better. We started much earlier, so we want to try to do our best to pluck them out. These are, all right. I would have preferred these cells being a little drier, but I overwatered them because they were going to sit outside and start hardening off over the last couple of days. So what we want to do here, basically want to plant this. You can plant this about an inch deeper than it was in the container. So we want to go down and then backfill, and you can even take and mound up around the plant slightly. And then we backfill with leaves to hold the moisture in. That's the key. The moisture is the key on all of this, and that's really going to turn out to be a really good plant. Now I'm going to do that with a lot of the red cabbage here, and then we'll start planting green cabbage when we get farther back. Pretty close to the same procedure, but since they're smaller, there's some fidgeting you'll have to do. All right, so I've got, let's see, 8 cabbages. Yeah, 8 red cabbages here. We've put 2 rows, spaced them about 12 inches apart. Now with the green cabbages, they're going to grow much larger in size, so I'm only going to be able to get 2 here on the end. Now these do not look the happiest. This row here is cauliflower, yes. The rest here is cabbage that got whipped pretty hard because we set it out to harden off and we got really a lot of wind. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to find the healthiest 2 and plant in these holes here that I've got made. There we go, that's 1. And this one doesn't look too bad. This will be number 2. And then the rest we'll find other locations to plant. But it's the same way as the red cabbage, but I want to stress that these do get much larger, so you want to be aware of, just because you're planting cabbage, different varieties of cabbages can result in different sizes of mature plants. So get that little compost, more compost there, a little bit of fertilizer, mix it in. You want to backfill. And up here. And mulch around. Then we're going to get these watered in. Growing in containers is a great way to extend the space you have available, or if you have no space at all, it's a great alternative to not growing at all. So we've got 2 different containers here. We've got just a regular, probably 3-gallon pot. We've drilled holes around the bottom, and then this is a 2.5-gallon bucket. We've drilled holes around the perimeter and on the bottom. We filled these both up with homemade compost. Now, if you make your own compost and you feel that you may have weed seeds that didn't break down because the temperatures weren't high enough in your compost pile, 3 consecutive days at 160 degrees Fahrenheit, this would be a great use for that because it's controlled. If you have weed seeds, it's very easy to pick them out rather than distributing this on your actual raised bed or ground garden. So we're going to plant onions and leeks in these containers, and you might think that that's a little crazy, but it can be done. And we've also got it in a tub here, just a plastic container, so we can bottom water. We can put 2.5 gallons in, and that'll be adequate, and it will wick the water up that's necessary for the plants. The key to a container is the smaller the container, the less soil, the quicker it's going to dry out, and it's a death sentence for your plants. In the ground garden, they can sometimes manage to get the necessary moisture out of the soil. In a container, when there's no moisture, that plant's going to die. So it's pretty close to growing them as you would in the ground or in a raised bed like we have in the past. I'm growing some purple globe onions here. These are intermediate day, which would be ideal for the central portions of the United States. We're in Wisconsin, a long day onion. So we're going to put these in because we're wanting to see how they do. We know that they're probably not going to bulb up tremendously. We want to see if we can get some bulbs out of them anyway. So with this container, it's about 6, 9, 10, it's 10 inches across, 10 inch diameter. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do 4 onions is what it's going to essentially be. And we're just going to take 4 of the best onions, good roots on them, and we're just going to put them in there. Now I'm going to trim the tops off in a moment. I want to get 4 of the best ones. That one's got 1 root on it. I'm going to bypass on that because I've got other ones here that's got better roots and I want to have the best chance. There we go. All right. There we go. Now these have been fed with Moo-Poo tea, and we're going to water both of these in with Moo-Poo tea once we get them planted. Let's see here. That's a good one. I got 2 good ones here. Yeah, that one there. Okay. Both of these are requiring full sun. Onions could manage partial sun, which is 4 to 6 hours, but 8 hours plus is ideal. And that's about all you're going to get in that container. Now with the leeks, because leeks are, you're looking for the root portion, that bleached portion, we're going to plant them deeper. And really, this is about a 7-inch bucket here. I'm going to put 3 in. I think that's going to be a safe number to put in. And just kind of do it a triangle. American flag leeks is what we have here. I'm just going to take the really doesn't matter because they all got decent roots on them. Okay, and you want to plant them. You don't want to. You could trim these back, but we find it to be better to leave them intact. Tops of the green onions will trim back, but the leeks we won't. So we want to bury the leek. In a container, I'm going to go ahead and bury it as deep as I'd want it to be. In traditional ground, you would normally dib it or make a ditch and plant them in. But since I'm in a container, I'm just going to go ahead and plant them extremely deep so that bottom portion gets bleached. That one doesn't look healthy on the top. That one's tore up. By planting a lot of starts, you have the option of finding the best one. Oh, here's one here I want. There we go. All right. And we'll bury that one deep. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to end up trimming these back, but I'm going to fill the reservoir up here with just regular rainwater. And the nice thing about the containers is right now we are in an area where it's going to get pretty much sun all day. We've got a tree above us. As the days and the tree fills in, we can take and move this anywhere we need to in the yard to get adequate sunlight. So the water will be able to wick up from the bottom. I'm going to top water to get the soil hydrated. This is authentic Haven brand Moo-Poo tea. And those are 2 items that you can grow in a container regardless if you have ground or not. So now's the time to start getting our tomatoes out of their solo cups, as you saw us plant several weeks ago, about a couple months ago really, and putting them in their own individual home. Now, there's not necessarily wrong with having a tomato in each solo cup. The problem we run into is they become root bound, and root bound is, let me take this out and show you. Root bound is when the roots begin to spiral around the container because they have no no other way of growing. And then whether you have one tomato in here or multiple like we do, you have to come in here and tease the roots. That one's wrapped around there. And get them untangled so they understand that when you plant them, you do that at the time of planting, and then they can start growing out. Now we're using the root maker to take these out of the cups. We're dividing them up and then putting them in the root maker. Root maker is an air-prune planting device. It's been around since 1968. It was invented for tree growers, and now they're coming more in the edible world. With good roots, with more vigorous roots, you're going to have a more healthier plant. And I'll show you with this one here. We've had these in there for a couple of weeks. You can start to see the roots are coming out and beginning to air prune. I'll tip this over. And what you can see here is all these roots. You've got roots that's beginning to form out, and when it becomes air prune, they put on more roots, more vigorous roots. Put that one back in. Let's get a different one here. So I'll get another one here. I'll show. Got roots coming out. You can see the root structure here looks real nice. Got a lot of roots beginning to grow, and the more roots you have, the better off your plant's going to be. So we're going to get these planted in, but now's the time to do it. We're getting about a month away. We can get these in the container. They're going to start bulking up, so we can get them out in the garden at the appropriate time. Now the root maker, they come in a couple different sizes here. These are the removable ones, which are nice. They also come in solid trays here as well. But we're finding that it's going to be a much better result of the transplant to get them in the ground without having to deal with a root-bound plant. When the root-bound plant can be stressed, these will not be stressed. So get your tomatoes transplanted in their own individual home, so then you're ready to go in a month or so when your soil temperatures are 55 degrees consistent at night. So this is our trellis that we grow our pole beans on. Now this is a fixed unit. We're not going to move this from bed to bed. We might in the future. This is where it was last year. We had issues with weeds coming up. Now one of the ways that we can combat that is we're going to come in here, and I started to work on the high end here and start just scraping the top just enough to cut the weeds off, and we throw it in the tub, and then we'll either sift it or just dump the whole thing in the compost pile. What we're doing is eliminating the grass instead of trying to pull it up. Then we're going to come in here with leaves that we got in our compost piles that's still on some of the beds and heavily mulch this. But in addition to that, where the beans will be planted this year, we're going to add some SUSE certified leaf compost and mound it over the boards here where the strings are at, and that's where we're going to plant. And in the center, in the future, we're going to plant a row of kohlrabi down the center. So what we're doing is we're just getting all the weeds out, taking just a fine top layer of soil with it to get to bare soil. Then we're going to mulch it and then bring some compost in. So this will greatly reduce the amount of weeds that we have to deal with when growing the green beans. So I'm going to continue to work on this and start extracting the weeds. Just very thinly take the top layer off and get all the vegetation out from underneath the trellis. And this will work on any permanent trellis that you have in your garden to mulch it to really prevent the weeds and keep that moisture in the ground. All right, so what I've done here, I've taken and I've sifted I took the weeds out, and then I sifted them to get the excess dirt out of it, and there was some rocks in there we got rid of. Then I poured it back in the bed, applied some 466 Winchester Garden Select Organic Fertilizer just to enrich the soil. True enough, whenever we plant beans here, they will they will acquire their own nitrogen because they're a legume, they're a bean. Then I came and got some compost from one of our compost piles that's in the garden right now, which is just leaves and broke down material, eggshells, corn stalks. And we covered the center here to smother out those weeds so we don't have the big massive mess of weeds. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking some certified leaf compost. Right now, I'm putting a little mound right in the center. And this will be for when we plant kohlrabi in a few days here. We're going to plant kohlrabi down the center and then by the time it matures, it'll be time for planting the beans so we can get 2 crops in one area. In addition, I'm going to come and cover the strings here, but I'll get to that in a moment. But first, I'm just going to cover the center here. I don't need much. I'm just putting about, it's about a 2 inch little mound here in the center. Then I'm just smashing it down a little bit, and then it will gradually work down. All this will compost and it'll be real nice. All right, so what I'm doing here, I'm just taking some more compost and I'm just covering the strings here. Now the way we have this set up is instead of attaching the strings to the ground, we've got them on just posts, logs, whatever we have available. So what I'm doing is I'm just coming in here and covering it up. True enough, the strings are not that tight, but also you don't want them super tight because you want to have some give when the plants crawl up them. As you can see, the wind's blowing. You don't want them so tight that it's going to snap something. You know, we're not trying to keep cattle in place here. We're just trying to get a device to allow these beans to crawl up. So then I'm going to come in here and do both sides. Cover it just with a few inches of compost here. Nothing too fancy. And this will work into the soil over the next few weeks. And then by the time we're ready to plant, then this will have already kind of worked in. We can just plant where the strings are at. So that's pretty much how easy it is. Well, maybe not as easy, but a preventative measure to help reduce the weeds on a place, a permanent trellis type thing, a trellis like we have here, in order to get a crop in the side of there, keep the weeds down, and better utilize the area you have instead of having to spend a lot of your time weeding. We mulched it to really help smother out the weeds. Thanks for watching. Join us again next time for more organic gardening and food preserving. I'm Joy Barrett, and this has been the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.